This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The Electoral Office of Jamaica, EOJ, is reporting that all is in place for the by-elections in the Maypen North and Yallas divisions, which are scheduled for tomorrow. The team at the EOJ has worked diligently to ensure the timely preparation and distribution of all materials necessary for conducting the polls. Also, according to the EOJ, training for all 168 election day workers has been completed. The EOJ says voting will take place in 61 polling stations across the 2 electoral divisions. Polls open at 7 a.m. and will close at 5 p.m., after which the preliminary count of ballots will take place. There are 8,286 registered voters in the Maypen North Division and 9,145 in Yallas. The EOJ also pointed out that only the electors registered to vote in the 2 electoral divisions will be allowed to vote in the elections. The EOJ insisted yesterday that candidates are being reminded that election campaigning ceases today, Thursday, April 26, 24 hours before the start of the polling on April 27. The office also reminded that electors that it's very important for them to take their voter ID to the polling station. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Pernell Charles, is to hold discussions with the parties involved in Tuesday's chaos in Parliament. The House descended into chaos as members of the opposition sought answers from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton on the air quality issues at Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James. It started after Government Member of Parliament Darrell Vaz questioned the motive behind opposition MP Dr. Dayton Campbell's interest in the matter.
As such may be conflicted by his strident calls for the closure or downsizing of the Cornwall Regional Hospital.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, rubbish, sit down and shut your mouth with the garbage. Rubbish you're talking. Rubbish you're talking. Rubbish you're talking.
Later, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips showed members of the House his middle fingers, albeit in jest. Mr. Charles had also admitted that it was a very bad day for the members of Parliament. Mr. Charles is reported as saying, quote, "It reflects on all parliamentarians, and I think that we'll have to decide on what we want to do, where we want to go. Certainly, we don't want this to happen again in Parliament," end quote. Mr. Charles would not go into detail about the actions he will take, but he said there will be some discussions taking place before Parliament meets again. Political Ombudsman Donna Parchment Brown says she's ashamed and depressed after witnessing the behavior of parliamentarians from both the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The Ombudsman says she will be writing to leaders of both the PNP and JLP regarding their behavior. A team of United States-based meteorologists and hurricane specialists is expected in Jamaica tomorrow as part of a public education and outreach campaign to boost awareness about tropical storms and hurricanes and to encourage preparedness. The tour is part of a Caribbean Hurricane Awareness Tour, CHAT, by the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, aimed at improving the preparedness and resilience of communities within the Caribbean to tropical storms and hurricanes. CHAT will make its stop at the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James. The group will host a press conference, after which the U.S. hurricane specialists and U.S. military air crew will facilitate access by students, media, community groups and other members of the public aboard their Air Force Reserve Command WC-130J, Hurricane Hunter. The Ministry of Education says that structural mechanisms have been put in place to safeguard the integrity of the in-school assessment component of the Primary Exit Profile, PEP. PEP, which replaces Grade 6 Achievement Test, will provide a profile of where the student is academically, the student's strengths and weaknesses, and their readiness for Grade 7. It will assess students' knowledge, in addition to placing increased emphasis on assessing students' demonstration of 21st century skills, which include critical thinking and communication. It consists of 3 key components: a performance test, an ability test, and a curriculum-based test. The performance task will test skills in mathematics, science, language arts, and social studies. It will be administered in grades 4, 5, and 6 in a classroom by a teacher. The ability test requires students to read analytically and use quantitative reasoning skills in responding to items. In regional news, members of Parliament in Antigua and Barbuda want Prime Minister Gaston Brown to withdraw the Crown Land Regulation Amendment Act 2018. The bill would change the age-old system of communal ownership. As you will hear in this report, the plea was done with tears in the House this week.
The issue has been an emotive one, the type which is typically associated with land ownership in many countries. No less the case for Barbuda, and the MP Trevor Walker showed emotion as he broke down while pleading with the Prime Minister to withdraw the bill.
Grieves me, Mr. Speaker. Grieves me. See where this Parliament at this session, Mr. Speaker. Grieves me. Grieves me. Grieves me. Grieves me to see we're here. Grieves me. Prime Minister, with all due respect, I ask you to pull back this bill and let the Barbadian people speak to you and your government. Pull it back.
Walker pointed out that he is not opposed to development, but not at the exclusion of the residents of the island, whom he says should have a say in the creation of a vision for the future growth and development of Barbuda.
Our vision for Barbuda, Mr. Speaker, is a low-density island that attracts with the tourism development of a low density. Mr. Speaker, where the land is utilized, including agriculture. And for us to have a situation, Mr. Speaker, where we have good access to education. Now, the question is, Antigua and Barbuda is one unitary state, but if Barbuda way of life and culture is going to change drastically over time, then these are matters that must be discussed. Because, for example, if a hotel is built in Barbuda that employs 500-600 people, it's going to totally change Barbuda and the way of life overnight. Now, the question is, and if not, how do we deal with that matter going forward?
In Trinidad and Tobago, there are calls for a change to the country's refugee policy. We have more in this report.
Also expressly and voluntarily agreed to their repatriation, which were recorded, Madam President. Trinidad and Tobago acceded to the 1951 Refugee Convention and the 1967 Protocol relating to the status of refugees in 2000. This has been noted, Madam President, that only the United Kingdom thus far was ratified this treaty. No other country has done that so far, only the United Kingdom. And therefore, Trinidad and Tobago has not enacted those laws within the domestic legislation of Trinidad and Tobago.
In sports, the country's top young athletes will be on show over the next 3 days as the 124th staging of the Penn Relays gets started today at Franklin Field at the University of Pennsylvania. Heavyweight Jamaican high schools such as Edwin Allen, Homewood Technical, Hydel, Vere Technical, Petersfield, Racines and St. Jago High among the girls, and Kingston College, Calabar, St. Jago, Petersfield, St. Elizabeth Technical among the boys are expected to show their quality over the next few days. The females will take center stage today with Edwin Allen, Heidel and Homewood looking to retain their championships of the America titles in the 4x100 meters, 4x400 meters, and 4x800 meters relays. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. As usual, we'll start with our local currents. In Kingston this afternoon, we're seeing temperature just about 29 degrees Celsius with a forecast of cloudy conditions and predominantly sunny skies. The sun is set to go down at 6:33 p.m. As with the temperature, it's set to go down to just about 24 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at what could be happening over the next 7 days in Kingston. We're seeing sunny skies going into the weekend, but we could be getting some rainfall on Saturday and Sunday. There's an 80% chance of rainfall forecast for Saturday. We're seeing temperatures between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius for the rest of the week going into next week. So if you're going to be going to the beach, not a very good idea for the weekend. Let's take a look at what could be happening over there in Montego Bay, St. James today. We're seeing temperatures between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius, and we're seeing a forecast of possible showers this afternoon going into this evening. In our 7-day forecast for Montego Bay, St. James, we're seeing temperatures between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius. We're seeing a possibility of rainfall throughout the weekend, but we could be getting some sunny skies come next week, Monday. And across the island today, though, we're expecting temperatures between 28 and 32 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of cloudy conditions in the western end of the island and rainfall over there in Negril. In the eastern end, we're seeing sunny skies, but it's going to be predominantly cloudy over there in St. Thomas. In tomorrow's forecast, we're seeing a rainfall in Ocho Rios over there in Negril, cloudy conditions in the southern end of the island, but it should be predominantly sunny over there in Port Antonio. Cloudy conditions forecast again for tomorrow for St. Thomas. And further afield, let's look at the Caribbean forecast. For today, we're seeing temperatures between 28 and 31 degrees Celsius. If you're traveling to Nassau, Bahamas, we could be getting some rainfall. That's the same for Havana, Cuba as well. Cloudy conditions forecast for the eastern end of the Caribbean for today. Let's see what's happening for the weekend across the Caribbean. Temperatures between 28 and 29 degrees Celsius. We're seeing a 30 degrees Celsius forecast for tomorrow for Nassau, Bahamas. We could still be getting some scattered showers in that country, also over there in Cuba as well. Cloudy conditions is forecast for Antigua, and over there in Santo Domingo, we could be getting some rainfall as well. It's going to be pretty sunny out over there in Mexico. And further afield over in the United States, on our travel planner, we're looking at the areas Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Atlanta. Minimum temperature 8 degrees Celsius with a maximum 34 degrees Celsius for those areas. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.